welcome to another episode of On a Legal Note by Carrie Geren Scoggins. For some time now, Christians in the United States have been the brunt of hatred, false accusations, stereotyping, and stigmatizing, violating their protected class status under religion by liberal Democrat groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, of whom recently falsely accused the American Family Association of being a hate group, violating their protected class status under religion, the federal Supreme Court ruling that Christians have a legal right to adhere to, quote, core values, including that of, quote, Romans chapter 1 and, quote, biblical references to homosexuality. They were illegally called a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, an act of religious discrimination, and an anti-Christian hate crime stereotyping a group, stigmatizing them as haters, violating the Supreme Court precedent that they have the legal right to adhere to core values without their tenets of faith being criminalized, and without groups such as the Southern Poverty Law Center coercing the public against a protected class. Moving on, we see that the Southern Poverty Law Center has done this same exact act using the LA Times newspaper to coerce the general population against the protected class under religion, that of the Christians, now illegally calling them a terror threat. It is illegal to stigmatize a protected class, such as Christians, under the protected class status of religion. Coercion is a very serious crime. They go on to add in the LA Times that they intend to use, quote, federal offices and federal law enforcement agencies to, quote, crush these Christians. They referred to them as, quote, white, quote, gun owners, quote, Christians, and that the federal government was going to come in and utterly crush them. So they also promoted federal agencies violating the Christian civil rights, coming in to hopefully arrest them, harass them, violating the 1964 Civil Rights Act, protecting Christians under the law as a protected class, and also violating their civil rights and their legal right to adhere to core values. There is no freedom from religion. Our federal Supreme Court did not find a freedom from religion. Those that do not like the Christian faith are expected by law to practice religious tolerance. Unlike the Southern Poverty Law Center and the liberal Democrat LA Times newspaper, of which chooses to practice anti-Christian religious discrimination and coercion equivalent to that we saw in Nazi Germany newspapers in pre-Nazi Germany, demonizing the Christians and Jews. This is the same treatment the Christians in the United States are being suffered to be the brunt of by the Democratic Party and big liberal groups such as the Southern Poverty Law Center and liberal media such as the LA Times newspaper. Christians are going to have to get together and begin to file lawsuits. Come against this treatment now, before it escalates into all-out Nazi Germany Bible burnings. The federal Supreme Court supported Christian civil rights when overturning the hate speech laws, giving the Christians and the general public the legal right to, quote, debate the issues. The Nazi-style hate speech laws were based on Nazi Germany's good speak laws that criminalized Judaism and Christianity for speaking against the homosexual lifestyle. This was the cause of many Christians and Jews being sent into prisons and then on to concentration camps, all due to their religion being criminalized. In the United States, We have a freedom of religion and the freedom to practice our religious tenets, including that of Romans chapter 1, which does not condone the homosexual lifestyle. This offends the Democratic Party. They want censorship. They want the separation of church and state, keeping the state out of the church, overturned, and our constitutional civil rights thrown out the window. They only support freedom of speech for their side and their agenda. They don't support freedom straight across the board. The federal law enforcement agencies cannot enforce the Democratic Party platform. They have to support our Christian civil rights as upheld by the federal Supreme Court. Remember, you are not a libertarian until you support the legal rights of those that you despise. That includes Christian civil rights. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of This has been another episode of On a Legal Note by Carrie Geren Scoggins.